evidence in this case, stop bullying me and test it. My name is Gabrielle Funrouge, and I'm the New York Post reporter that found key evidence in the Jussie Smollett case. About 9 days after Mr. Smollett had reported his hate crime, I was sent to Chicago. I was told to retrace his footsteps and kind of dig up whatever I can, and that was about it. So at the time, police were still treating it as a hate crime. They were still treating him as a victim, and Mr. Smollett had alleged that bleach was poured on him, and police were yet to recover the vessel in which the bleach had come from. So when I went back to the crime scene, I knew that was something that I should be looking out for. Maybe this was left behind. There had been snow on the ground at the time. The snow had since melted, so I thought that there was a possibility that I would see something. So I was looking around. It was a sidewalk near a base of a staircase, and that's where he claimed he got beat up. And I saw an empty hot sauce bottle, and I thought it was strange that a hot sauce bottle would be out there. You see beer cans and beer bottles and energy drinks and stuff like that, but why would anybody have a hot sauce in the middle of the street or on a sidewalk? It was just very strange. And then in addition, if you ever have a hot sauce bottle, you know that there's a lot of red and green flecks in it. This one was totally cleared out. There was no red or green remnants, so I thought that was very strange. So then I went against every crime show I'd ever watched, and I picked it up with my hands like a total amateur, but I didn't really think it, I thought there was like a 1% chance this was related. I mean, this is only something you see in the TV and movies. Like, it's very unlikely that a journalist finds crime scene evidence. So I picked it up, and against my better judgment, I smelled it, because I knew it would have had to have bleach in it, and so there I am on the street smelling garbage, as the good, journalist that I am. But I noticed that there was a bit of a bleachy, kind of chlorine-y smell to it. There was an odor. It wasn't water. So I was like, maybe there's, I'm trying to give it, have a lot of doubt. Like, it could have been melted snow, it could have been rain, it could have been any type of thing. Somebody could have put vodka in it, who knows, you know what I mean? But it did have an odor to it. But I still wasn't convinced, so I laid it back exactly where I'd found it, and I told my photographer about it. I was like, what do you think about this? He was a retired New York City police detective, Gary Miller, and he was like, Chicago is such a clean city. I find it highly unlikely that this area hadn't have been clean. He's like, it's probably nothing. He's like, let's check tomorrow to see if the area had been clean, because then we'll know if things from 9 days ago would still be there. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we forgot about it. The next day, we're back to checking out new leads, trying to break some new lines, and I'm like, let's go back to the crime scene and see if the hot sauce bottle's still there. It was still there. So we're like, okay, this area clearly isn't cleaned regularly. This is strange. So then I told my desk about it. I told my editor and the rewrite reporter that I was working with, Bruce Golding. And he was like, this sounds like evidence. He's like, we need to report this. So my editor gave me the clearance to call the police about it. I had gotten the Central Area Detective Squad's number. I didn't call 911 or anything like that. And first they were like, who is this? Who are you? And I, had explained what I'd found. They had been asking for tips. And so I was like, doing my due diligence, I think I found something. Ended up sending some detectives down there. Because I had touched the bottle, I had to wait for crime scene technicians to come and take fingerprints from me. So they did that. Whatever. And then, we're all very excited about it. Like, was the bottle related? You have to work your police sources, try to get this. So I've been trying for weeks to try to push the Chicago Police Department to tell me, is this related? They always gave me a stone wall, said no, talked to the state attorney, sorry, we can't confirm anything, we don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of and I also thought there was a very, very slim chance that this was even related. So, it turns out that the hate crime was reportedly faked, and this whole thing came out. The charges were released. I went back to Chicago, went there for all the court hearings and for the police press conference and all of that. Still no confirmation about the bottle. And then yesterday, a bunch of Chicago outlets had done a Freedom of Information Act request, and all of these police documents came out, all the supplementary detective reports that had been filed throughout their investigation. And my colleague texted me, and he said, the hot sauce bottle's in the documents. And I'm like, what? I was totally blown away. I couldn't believe it. I was at an MTA board meeting downtown, and I'm like, not even paying attention. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So it had said in there that they had shown
now that hot sauce bottle should have Jussie Smollett's fingerprint.
Yes, that is what we used to pour bleach on Jussie Smollett. And it was extraordinary. By the end of the day, the Chicago Police Department confirmed that was in fact the bottle that I had found. And here we are now. A reporter never thinks to find evidence at a crime scene. So I just picked it up thinking it was garbage, and because I was like, something is weird here, but let me just pick it up. I didn't really think I was touching evidence. And then afterwards, once I'd reported it to the police, it started to rain. And it also, something that made me think that it had been there for a long time is when I picked it up, there was a little bit of dirt along it, as if it had been there a while, you know what I mean? Like it was indented and then dirt on both sides. And I was like, I made sure to place it exactly like that because I'm like, oh, I've watched CSI, that should matter, right? Like that there's dirt and an indent, you know? So I tried to preserve it as best as I could, but by the time the cops came, and we waited 6 hours for crime scene technicians to come, and it rained, and I was like, there was a little bit of clear liquid in it, and then they just throw it into a paper bag. I'm like, there's liquid in there. Like, please don't further contaminate this anymore. I was a little bit concerned, but not much else I could do about it. As my colleagues today, Leah and Aaron Feist, Leah Stakovich and Aaron Feist, have in today's New York Post, they have a story about the one guy who can still charge Jussie Smollett, and it's the U.S. Attorney for Chicago.
Wow.
He's a Trump-appointed attorney. There was a lot of politics in this case. Mr. Smollett had alleged that two bigots in Make America Great Make America Great Again hats, were the ones who attacked him. So this, and that they had racial slurs and homophobic slurs. So this was highly political, this crime. So I think there's a lot of incentive from the right to possibly bring this forward. Chicago is a classic leftist state, especially Kim Foxx. She's a very liberal state attorney. You know, she actually ran on a reform platform to, after Chicago had some kind of embarrassing incidents with people of color and crime and the way that the police treated them. So we have two very polarized things. A defense attorney I interviewed the other day, he was like, if Mr. Smollett was my client, I would put him on notice to see if to be ready for a federal indictment that could be coming down in the next few weeks. And this is also an embarrassment. So if the state attorney isn't going to do it, I think the U.S. attorney might step in, especially because